You're not competing against the NFL tonight. So.
No, exactly. No Equinox for them, and no Equinox for us tonight either. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. We'll be back next time. We'll see you later.
After the first week of football, who'd have thought Alabama would be right back on the top? After a couple losses, Texas would have a chance to be back where they are. And we've all kind of watched Texas A&M and Ole Miss kind of jump right in the hunt. And, that Texas A&M's kind of become my dark horse because they can beat you offensively and they can beat you defensively.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
Better bets, $90,000, FanDuel, New Jersey, LA. Oh, it must be some sharp hockey better. Yeah, or a rich kid with nothing better to do on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is funny. God rest his soul, Dave Sheriff always used to say, if he told me this one time, Gabe, he told me 1,000. It's not how much someone bets that moves line, it's who's bet.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I think they are fringes.
Yeah, that might be a push. That's a preference thing, I think. Do you want to be in the SEC? Do you want to live in Happy Valley versus Norman? Maybe you can go down to Texas.
I would take Norman.
Well, to go down and get talent out of Texas.
Yes.
But I think you've got to have alumni, president, athletic director that are all on board and committed to winning. And you need to have a fan base that shows up in sports.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here.
Game-time decisions on SportsGrid. Here with you on a Tuesday night, I am Kevin Walsh. We are live from the decisions desk, where I'd like to believe you have all had enough time, shake off the cobwebs, cup of coffee or two, and are getting ready for another night of World Series action. Because that is, of course, where I am sure a ton of you spent however long you could locked in last night with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays going 18 innings, a 6-5 finish that somewhat appropriately ends with Freddie Freeman hitting a walk-off home run. A game that, if you stayed up the whole way, you will remember forever. If you're a Blue Jays fan, it'll be a tough one. If you're a Dodgers fan, it was well worth it. A game that was loaded with choices that you could call into question and remember. Walking Ohtani probably near the top of that list, sending certain runners, when to go to who in the bullpen. One decision, though, that was taken out of the hands of the Toronto Blue Jays was putting George Springer on the bench. That certainly will factor into tonight's game, which we will be talking about here throughout our show on this Tuesday. The decisions, though, to walk Shohei Ohtani following a 4-for-4, 2-home run, 2-double night, have seen him now settle in as a minus 380 favorite to win World Series MVP. I get it. I do. I am tempted by some others. Yamamoto, as he headed out to the bullpen last night, actually crashed down on one book to 9-1 to win World Series MVP, which I tend to understand why he's back now between 25 and 30 to 1 in most markets. Freddie Freeman, for his incredible efforts last night, sitting at 55 to 1. The idea from the books is if it's going to be the Dodgers, it's going to be Ohtani. Well, that sends us into tonight's game. What if Ohtani loses? Shohei is being asked to do something that feels almost unfair. He was out there last night, just like the rest of these guys, going until midnight. And at the end of the day, his counterpart in Shane Bieber was warming up for 3 to 4 innings of last night's game. So it's not like he got a ton of shut-eye either. But Ohtani has to go out there where on a night, we also saw him pull up a little lame, running the bases, and now hit and pitch again? There's a number of ways that this will impact the market. A Dodgers loss will see their huge price to win the World Series likely get chopped down in half again, currently at around minus 500. But what does it do to the Ohtani case? It's kind of the push and pull of the do-it-all nature of the best player in the sport when it's in such a small sample size. He right now is the World Series MVP. There isn't pushback on that. What if tonight goes south for him on the mound? Maybe you'd say he'll just make up for it at the dish. And again, that's absolutely on the board. But it continues to make the World Series MVP market one of the most fascinating we have. And I think it's because you've got the best player in the world at the top of the market once again. Now, if you are going to get involved with tonight's slate outside of the World Series, you will probably be heading over to the association. Our guy, Coach James Young, will join us in 5 minutes' time to give us his card for the NBA, which tonight, as it is a Tuesday, brings us the King of the Court promo. I know a lot of you NBA bettors absolutely adore that. We know who the lead dog is on this night. It is Giannis Antetokounmpo. My pick to win NBA MVP heading into the season, who's averaging 36 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists through the first 3 games of the season. Giannis at home will take on the New York Knicks, who lost their first game of the season in their most recent outing on the road against the Miami Heat. Other big spots on this NBA card tonight will feature the Clippers heading to Golden State as the Warriors are on a back-to-back, and OKC returning home for the first time since opening night. But still a banged-up group. Add Chet Holmgren's name to that injury report out here on the second leg of a back-to-back. We do also have some important college football on this Tuesday. We could argue a little bit about the importance if you want, but I think James Madison is worthy of discussion. They presently sit 6-1, and their only loss is by 14 to a ranked Louisville on the road in a football game that JMU led by 8 in the middle of the third quarter. A tie game going into the fourth. I know right now when it comes to the G5 spot, the conversation is dominated by the American, whether that be South Florida or Memphis or Navy, and I get it. But if they could all beat each other up, it might just be JMU who looks to come knocking and sneak on into that spot. So they will be in action tonight on the road at Texas State, laying now, looks like north of a touchdown here, a big spot on the college football board. Speaking of college football, tonight's Kevin 7, as we've delivered to you each and every single Tuesday. There's a lot of conversations about the job openings that are out there. 7, in fact. We could have very easily ranked those 7 openings. But what if we have more to come? I would pretty much guarantee you we have more to come. We have major jobs, in fact, that I feel pretty sure we will see come open. So tonight's Kevin 7 college football teams who could need a new head coach sooner than they think. We will also, as always, on a Tuesday, bring our guy Brady Cannon in to start to peel through the Week 9 NFL spreads. And Week 8 ends with another Kansas City Chiefs victory. As somebody who played the Commanders, if you want me to step up here and take blame, I mean, sure, got the pick wrong. Washington blew every opportunity in that first half that they had to cover. Marcus Mariota comfortably outplayed KC through the first half of that football game. They just blew their opportunity. But for Kansas City, dominating the Raiders, dominating the Commanders, that's handling their business. What is on deck is one of the most anticipated games year in and year out. Chiefs-Bills with a number that simply stunned me. I am very excited to hear what Brady makes of Buffalo, Kansas City in week number 9. We will also spin it around with a few other key spots, including, by the way, Tyler Shuck getting his first start as the New Orleans Saints quarterback. It is a busy Tuesday, no doubt about it. We have Craig Mish stopping by for World Series breakdown. But up next, Coach James Young, the host of Pro Basketball Today and College Basketball Today here on SportsGrid, gives us his Tuesday card. We'll be right back.
A Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
the ref,
hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, and we are now joined by Coach James Young, host of Pro Basketball Today. And tell me, JY, have we debuted yet College Basketball Today here on the network?
No, we have not. We'll debut College Basketball Today. Tomorrow we'll film it. It'll be released on Thursday. Wednesday night usually wherever you stream your podcast. But yeah, it's been fun. It's a lot of new things and graphics, and you know what? Real quick, shout out to Kev. Kev was, I think, the first day I came on SportsGrid on 2021. I was on with Kevin, so we're still here, and now I got a show partially because of Kevin.
Well, JY, I appreciate the kind words. I'm happy for you. You're doing great stuff. So make sure everybody, you go out there and check out what JY has going on. Coach, I want to begin here. The Philadelphia 76ers are on the second leg of a back-to-back against the Washington Wizards, though they rested Embiid for that first leg. That decision, though, to rest Embiid led to a very big number that Orlando laid, in my opinion, at Philadelphia. Yet, same thing as each of the first two games, Sixers win. This time, actually, by their biggest margin of the year, a double-digit victory, despite Paolo and Franz Wagner, along with newly added Desmond Bane to complete the trio, each scoring 20-plus, and pretty efficiently, might I add. This is a 76ers team, JY, that you and I spent a lot of time talking about over the summer. How do you feel about Philadelphia through the opening week of the NBA season?
You know, Kevin, I was high on Philadelphia. I thought they were the biggest threat to the Knicks in the Atlantic Division because I thought that number one, getting Maxey back was going to be key. I think I underestimated VJ Edgecombe to start. This guy's a bucket. And Philadelphia has themselves such an interesting dilemma now because at what point, Kevin, do you really turn over the keys to the franchise to that young backcourt of Maxey and Edgecombe with Grimes coming off the bench? And obviously you'll get McCain back at some point. It seems like, Kevin, we're here. They're explosive. They're dynamic. They get up and down the floor. I just hope that Daryl Morey doesn't mess this up. When Paul George comes back, I don't even know if I go three-guard lineup. I think I keep Kelly Oubre where he is, and I bring Paul George off the bench. Let him have his pride, eat his humble pie. Because right now, Kevin, this team is playing as good as anybody in the league so far.
Yeah, they are, and I really believe right now all of the injury stuff for Philadelphia, which last year ruined their season, is why there's so much room for optimism. This isn't a healthy Sixers team right now. Embiid can only play 20 minutes. Paul George isn't around. Trendon Watford, a guy that I actually think can be a valuable bench big, hasn't played yet either. And yet here they are looking good. I think this team has legitimate upside. I've been impressed. I mentioned they were my pick to win the East at 12-1. We talk about a lot of times if you get those free bets, whether it's a losing no sweat or a deposit match, whatever it may be, hitting the futures market, I've hit Philadelphia again because I've been very encouraged what I have seen through the first week of this NBA season. JY, are there any bets for you in this game tonight between Washington and Philly?
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points with Philadelphia. I like how they've played so far. Listen, 7 of the last 8 games, the Sixers have won versus the Wizards. 2-1 against the spread to start the year. I just think there's too dynamic offensively. I look at the other side, especially when I believe Koulibaly out. I don't know who stops those two guards on Philadelphia. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go to the prop market, but I'm going to go to Quentin Grimes over 3.5 assists. Over 2 to 3 games so far this year. Washington is 29th in points per game allowed. And listen, being on the second leg of a back-to-back, they may lean on their bench. And if I think that Philadelphia wins this game, especially if they win it going away, that means more time for Quentin Grimes, who's getting about 25 minutes or so off the bench. Give me Quentin Grimes over 3.5 assists tonight.
All right, little love there for Grimes and what's going to be the opening game on this NBA slate here between Washington and Philadelphia. The second game on this slate tonight features Charlotte and Miami. I think two teams through the opening week of the year have to be pretty happy with the results that they've been able to log, JY. How are you betting this one?
Kev, I'm taking the points with the Hornets. You obviously know that I was big on Charlotte before the year because of the fact that I just thought that LaMelo was there. He looks engaged. They're dynamic offensively. They're better than we think defensively. Charles Lee has done a good job to start the year. I think Miami wins. Kevin, I just think it's too many points. Now, it's at 5.5, 6.5 shot per round. If you can find it at 6 or better, definitely jump on it. But I'm going to take the points with the Charlotte Hornets. I wouldn't be shocked. seriously, if they pull this game out. They're playing that well to start the season.
I will tell people right now, it looks like JY more 4.5s than the 5.5s. There are some, so if you want Charlotte, get the best of that number. I think what's very interesting for this Hornets team right now, in this Brandon Miller absence, how much can LaMelo Ball keep this going? Because JY, look, LaMelo Ball's a very polarizing guy, I think, to some degree. Because we know the talent is immense, but then we judge it on, hey, best player title team, second best player title team. Does Charlotte have a franchise cornerstone here? It's 3 games, Coach, but 28, 8, and 10. I mean, that's pretty fantastic out of LaMelo Ball.
It's been absolutely fantastic. I think, Kevin, I just think he looks engaged. Here's why. Like, when we came into the season, no one was talking about LaMelo Ball being a top 5 point guard. Like, no one was.
No.
It was Trey. It was, Brunson. It was, all these other guys. And no one was mentioning LaMelo. The problem with LaMelo is health. But if he's healthy and he's rebounding and he's cutting turnovers down and he's got enough guys around him who can shoot the ball, Kevin, he's played very, very well. And I think Charles Lee deserves a lot of credit for the growth of this team so far this year.
We're going to take our first break. We're going to have Coach come back and hit the 3 remaining games on this NBA slate. Milwaukee hosting the New York Knicks. The Thunder are going to host the Sacramento Kings. I'm involved in both of those games. And then late night, you don't see a lot of 11 o'clock East Coast tips there. I guess maybe they got a little, excited off of the World Series game. Warriors, Clippers, we will break those down next on SportsGrid.
On your right side will be up.
Watch a Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing it with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a ref,
hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
With you right here on SportsGrid on a Tuesday night. Let's put some best bets on the board for the people. We've got myself and the whole crew dialed in. Casino Chris getting involved in the association. Tyrese Maxey for 40-plus PRA. Tyrese Maxey is breaking out. It's a huge part of what's going on for Philadelphia. And when I say breaking out, I mean hitting a different level of player. He has been excellent for the Sixers to start this season. Some more NBA action from AJ. That's going to be Clippers Mooney line going up against the Golden State Warriors as the Dubs are on the second leg of a back-to-back. We've got your JMU play of the day. Wayne Knight over the 64.5 rushing yards. Back there, Sam is the most trusted JMU source in the business. He is sharp and ahead of the numbers on Wayne Knight. He thinks he's going to blast through any number, though, in case it is moved at where you may be shopping. My favorite bet on the board tonight. We're trying to get back into the rhythm of the props market. Worked well yesterday with Paolo Banchero over 24.5. Similar vibes around Karl Anthony Towns over 21.5. Tat is shooting 41% from 2 this season. He is a career 57% shooter from 2. Bouncing back against the Bucks feels in line as they're going to need Cat to play well against the Giannis Miles Turner front court, which I think he actually can. The bigger liability is Cat on the defensive side of the basketball against this unit. Tonight, Cat's three-point shooting still good. I like him over 21.5. Hit this in the second game of the season. We've got ourselves a little every other so far for Towns. We're here with the coach, Coach James Young. JY, let's go to Bucks-Knicks. Any action for you in this matchup?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2 of them. First, Mikal Bridges over 15.5 points, 2 or 3 games to start out the year. And the way I look at it is this, is if you think about the matchups, like OG probably takes Giannis. So if I'm looking at foul trouble, maybe it's OG. So that means Bridges has to step up and score. No Deuce McBride again tonight. I'm going Mikal Bridges over 15.5 points. And because Kevin's going over 21.5, I'm going over 15.5. I'm going over 228.5. Bucks have gone over this in all 3 of their games. Knicks missing 2 of their better defensive players, and both Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride. I think there's points there tonight. I think the Knicks break out offensively. Have struggled to shoot the ball from 3, but they shoot the most threes in the NBA. They go over, now 229.5 tonight.
All right, so a little bit of love for the over in that one. JY, did I miss action from you in the Miami-Charlotte game?
Yes, one play I did have is Jaime Jaquez over 4.5 rebounds. Going over all 3 games so far. Charlotte is 24th in rebounds allowed per game, but gave up the most rebounds so far to begin the season. 2 small forwards, the ability to get up and down the floor, rebound, push the ball in transition. Give me Jaime Jaquez over 4.5 rebounds tonight.
All right, JY. Thunder Kings. I am going to take the 9.5 with Sacramento. This was 10.5 before the Chet announcement. In a way, I wish I personally got in prior because you always want the best number. But I am in with any of you who get in now at 9.5. OKC on a back-to-back. They are so good. I feel as if the injuries are not being appropriately priced in. This team is 4-0 straight up, 1-3 against the number. J-Dub has not played this year. Chet is out again. Think about it like this. If Chet and J-Dub were in, they're laying 14.5 to Sacramento? I mean, that's what it would have to be. I think it's a little heavy here. Give me the Kings to bounce back and step up and hang with the Thunder. JY, any juice for you in this one or the late night action of Golden State and LA?
No, listen, with a second leg of a back-to-back with Golden State, I'm going to go with someone who I think should be able to get going, and that's Jonathan Kuminga to go over his points prop of 15.5 over 3 to 4 games so far this year. He's been very dynamic offensively, 25 points last night. And when I look at guys that can get up and down the floor on back-to-backs, that's a guy I think is going to excel. And Steve Kerr, just play the kid 35 minutes, please, and call it a day. Kuminga over his points prop tonight.
To JY's point, and sometimes you see things right away. And what I mean by that is Kuminga, night 1 against the Lakers, gets the start, plays great, and I immediately, JY, and I think you and I spoke about this. All of the nonsense from the summer is going to work out for them. Because now they're forced to play him. He's looking to play incredible, and they're going to get the most out of this situation. I think he's a sleeper, most improved. There's 2 guys who I found to be sleeper in the most improved market, Jonathan Kuminga, and then apparently the best player in the NBA, Austin Reeves, who's going to average 75 points a game this season. Coach, appreciate it as always. Don't forget, Pro basketball today on SportsGrid. College basketball today is coming. We're joined by Craig Mish talking World Series next.
Watch a Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing it with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a
this,
ref,
his hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right, but there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in to Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh, who is learning a valuable lesson. Even though every time, love talking to Craig Mish, I got to stop doing it on Tuesdays. 2 for 2 now. I'm trying to ruin my day on a Tuesday. Craig Mish, is great to see him. You can catch him on Newswire, of course, Monday through Friday, including Tuesdays. He's given me some insight. Craig knows things. And some things...
I've been doing this a really long time. I've met a lot of people along the way and reported in the NFL and reported in Major League Baseball. Right. And it's all come full circle with working at SportsGrid. I actually really enjoy being sort of on this side now and doing the analyzing part because, Kevin, the reporting part is great. It's fun, but it's a grind, man. It's constantly trying to scoop stories and texting and calling and... it's not to say I didn't love it and I still really enjoy it, but I like hosting a lot too. So this fits my lifestyle a little better.
Well, listen, you're great at it and we're glad to have you. You have, though, opened the box for me a little bit to actually ask you about something that I wasn't necessarily planning on, which is just kind of some of the reporting going on right now. I think specifically in the NFL, Craig, where I am not in any way trying to go at the person, but he's just the subject in Adam Schefter, who made a report on J.J. McCarthy that the initial injury would be 2 to 4 weeks and followed that up with, as we all know, a 6-week injury, like we said from the beginning. And then you have the number one NFL newsbreaker getting community noted with the source being his initial tweet on the matter. And I think we see it now, Craig, a lot where every piece of news is attributed and adding the agent or the agency. And I think it muddies the water a little bit. Is that unfair to say?
No, it's very competitive, and I don't know exactly how it works in the NFL, or I know how it works in Major League Baseball, obviously, because I've been doing it. I know a little bit how it works in the NFL, and it's not a coincidence that what you see with Adam Schefter and Evan Rappaport, right? I think that what happens is some of them have individual relationships, and to take you behind the curtain, I don't know what Adam Schefter's relationship with some people is. I don't know what Rap Sheet's report is with certain people, but generally speaking, I guess you could say it's like out of every 100 players, I would say probably, I'm going to guess that the 2 of them have the same exact relationship in terms of agents with like 80 of them. So they're on the same text and they're getting the information basically at the same time, but maybe they've gotten information on something that they haven't been able to break yet because they have an agreement with the agent or somebody else. So they have the tweet ready or they have the report ready. And then the second that they both get it on the same text chain, probably, I would say, Kevin, is when they're able to release the report. Now, what happens to the other 20%? If that's 80, what happens to the other 20? That's where it gets really competitive, because one of them is going to have relationships with certain agents that's better than the other. And so in this particular case, if we're reading through the tea leaves, it definitely seems as though something went awry a little bit with the J.J. McCarthy thing. But that's just part of the business, because J.J. McCarthy is not the only client of, I'm sure, whatever agency that he is. And so sometimes the water has to get carried a little bit for one to get a story for another. And I know it sucks to hear that and to say that. And by the way, I would say that both those guys do a fantastic job, and all of them are better than me at doing it. But I just kind of know from my own experience that's a little bit how it works. It's just true. It's part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I ask. Because I know you'd have insight on it, and I think it's bizarre that we get that from J.J. McCarthy, and then Wentz hits season-ending IR. They're like, hey, he's had a torn labrum for weeks. It's like, can someone actually just report, I say nothing or say what's going on? But again, I do understand it's a bit of a game. Speaking of
there is one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing. The very best player, you can make an argument. Think about this, Kevin. The very best player in the NFL, if his name is not Josh Allen, it's Lamar Jackson. I'll take that all the way to the end. So if it's not him, I still believe in Lamar Jackson. The very best player in the world, there were injury shenanigans where we didn't know if he was going to play or not. Put that into perspective. This is the best player, the one that's the easiest to find on a football field and cover, and somehow the Ravens were able to, kind of bamboozle people into thinking that he was going to play. I don't care what John Harbaugh says. Obviously, they knew he wasn't going to play last week. So if that's the case, Kevin, and that misinformation is out there on the best player in the NFL, you can only imagine what else is going on out there.
Yeah, I think that it's a really good point. I've seen some people, they start to posit theories all of a sudden, Craig, of, well, maybe Lamar's not on the same page as those people in Baltimore. And I think where I still come from a place then of like, well, we're never going to know. We'll only know if there's a parting ways, right? If this is Harbaugh's last year in Baltimore, if Lamar gets out of there, otherwise we're not going to know. And again, it muddies the waters on things that they don't need to be muddied, but such is life. Let's get to this baseball, of course, though, Craig, which was outrageous last night. 18 innings in all, and I mean, again, just from someone with your perspective who has been around the game as much as you have, what did you take away from the 6-5 Dodgers final?
3:00 on the East Coast. I was up watching this. This is the latest I've stayed up maybe since I was 26 or something like that. I could not stop watching this game last night. And the reason I could not stop watching is because I feel like as long as I've been doing this and as long as I've been watching sports, I don't think we're ever going to see a player like Shohei Ohtani ever again. And for him to be intentionally walked as many times as he was and to get on base 9 times in a single game and then to pitch today, Kevin, I think he's still underrated. Growing up as a kid watching this game, I could have never imagined that we would have this kind of athlete. I remember very vividly having conversations with, my father and talking to other people about Bo Jackson, saying that this is something that's never going to ever happen again. We'll never get a guy this good in baseball and this good in football while he was playing at the same time. And I understand it's apples and oranges because Ohtani is only playing one sport, but pitching and hitting the way that he is doing it and carrying the team at different times, to me, it's still must watch, and I'll be locked in tonight like I was last night all the way through.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said about Ohtani, the hitter. When he is locked in, it's just it's such a supernova kind of thing. I ended up last night, and I actually was excited about this, on freezing cold takes because a week or so into the postseason, was like, can we have a conversation about Ohtani? He was hitting 158. But I asked that, Craig, because I agree with you. He's very obviously one of the all-time greats, and you want to hold him to that standard, and he is presently slaughtering that standard. It is remarkable to watch. And it's why he's such a big favorite for MVP right now.
Yeah, and do you realize that I don't know what's going to happen when he comes up first tonight, when he leads off the game for the Dodgers? Kevin, if he gets a hit tonight, that's the last at-bat he's going to have in the World Series. If he gets a hit to lead off, that's it. They're just going to... I think they may walk him to start the game. But if they don't, and he gets a hit tonight, that's it. I think you will not see him getting that bat the rest of the way, unless you absolutely have to, bases loaded, something like that. I mean, look what they did yesterday.
Wow, that is fascinating. That is really fascinating. I actually, because we ended up clearing out some space, and Craig, you're usually good for this. I'm going to ask you to stick around.
Sure.
The Ohtani stuff specifically, again, from a true just fan perspective, is amazing. The betting end of it also last night kind of took a wild turn. We'll talk about that after a quick break. We're with Craig Mish on SportsGrid.
A Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing it with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a ref,
hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We are back with you right here on a Tuesday. We are joined by Craig Mish. You can catch Craig across the SportsGrid network with Newswire Monday through Friday, as well as FST over the weekends. Is it air on Friday right now, Craig, the FST?
Yeah, Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, and 14 o'clock on Sundays and Mondays.
I'm going to hold it to that 6 o'clock. It turns out I'm off Friday. You can catch
I'm on
FST.
I'm on a lot.
So, Craig, last night, I can't help myself because, again, I'm up watching the game. And, at my core, a bettor. I'm wondering if they're posting the Ohtani live appearance markets. And it's hit, strikeout, any other outcome, right? And I'm thinking to myself, any other outcome, they're going to walk him, right?
Right.
So I didn't bet it because ultimately I was like, I don't really, but I know what it is, right? And, they walk him. You walk him. And people are tweeting at the time what was FanDuel, like, it was a walk. Why didn't you pay me out? They're like, no, void. There's no pitch was thrown.
Really? Wow.
They said no pitch was thrown. So hear me out, Craig. First plate appearance for Ohtani. Single, extra base hit, strikeout. But a walk is 4-1. But it says a pitch must be thrown.
Oh, gosh.
But hear me out, Craig. They did.
You still want to do it? You still want to do it?
They did walk him on 4 balls yesterday.
They did.
Don't you think that's what they would do on the opening appearance?
I agree. I do. I like that. I do. I agree. I think that's fair.
We might have something then.
So what would happen? Would you still cash in if it's 3-0 and they just tell them to go? Yes, right?
I believe yes. Yes, you would.
You would pull some BS. Okay, yeah. So I think they asked Schneider. This is why some of the betting stuff is so funny. But they asked the manager an hour ago, and they asked him if he would walk Ohtani to start the game, and he said, "I don't know."
And I know last night in the heat of the moment, they're like, "Is that going to be the strategy moving forward?" And he's like, "Yes." So I think intentionally walking the first hitter they could be leading, right? Like I think that's nuts.
It is.
But I also think, I told this story to someone, Craig. Now it's very different, I know. We were in like the 7th grade. But there was a kid on the other team who was the best hitter in the league, but all he wanted to do was hit home runs. They said, throw it in the dirt. He's not going to lay off. And he did strike out every at-bat because he just said, I'll run into one. So, give yourself a chance that Ohtani's too excited and chases instead of just giving him the base. What's the 4 pitches to Bieber? He'll be fine. It's 4-1. I think it's tempting.
Yeah, it would be more curious to see what would happen is if I mention, let's say he doubles to start the game. That next at bat, that's it. I think you know what's coming after that. I don't think he'll see a pitch.
But that's where I guess based on the rules,
but then you can't cash in on that.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do with it. So I think it's an interesting. I think some books have said he's like minus 1,200 to walk once tonight. So the whole thing is just totally out of whack. Craig, I want to ask you this because a little bit later on in the show, we're going to talk about some of the college football job openings here. And you know the sport very well, so I think you'll actually have a better gauge on this than I would. And I know there's a level of personal investment on it, but how do you feel the Florida job stacks up to the recently available LSU job, considering the 2 schools right now feel very heavily linked to the same guy in Lane Kiffin?
Look, you're asking somebody who's very biased, but I just don't think that there's many better jobs in the country than Florida. I don't think so. And living in Florida, no state tax, living in Gainesville, I went to UF. I don't know. I think from a recruiting perspective, you're always going to get better kids from Florida than you will from Louisiana. So I do put Florida ahead of LSU. I'm trying to think of better schools maybe to take than the Gators job. Maybe Ohio State would come to mind as a possibility there. USC because it's in California. We know Lincoln Riley wanted to go there, but Florida's on a very short list for me. Yeah. But I don't know that Lane Kiffin. I don't know that Lane Kiffin would leave his situation in Mississippi, Kevin. I guess what we would agree is that if he left Mississippi, he'd be the highest paid coach in the history of college football, correct? Because he may not be the best, but he'd be the biggest free agent, right? The most coveted at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, because he's going to be able to pit 3 schools in the same conference against one another.
That's all it's about. Yeah,
so,
that's what it's about.
I think it's on
it's
the
like,
board.
like Kevin, as an example, if Pete Alonso was the only free agent this offseason, he'd get $500 million, but he's not. But it feels like Lane Kiffin is by far and away the best available guy. So that I think will happen for him.
And because Lane, in his nature, can't just say no. Like Cignetti has pulled himself out of all of these jobs with the extension that he did with Indiana already, right? Like Lane is keeping the door open. I think it's on the board that one of the schools drops out. But what I think is so incredible, Craig, right, is again because Florida versus LSU is a debate of the whole thing. But if you had the 12 best jobs in college football, 3 of them might be open right now. I mean, that's a remarkable
Penn
time.
State. Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Alabama, Georgia, these are really good jobs.
Yeah.
But the job living in Florida is a very big deal. Also, his dad, Lane Kiffin, Monty Kiffin, was a defensive coordinator in Tampa for a while. There's a lot of ties there. But I know Gator fans, that's who they want. I don't know that it's going to happen. And Kiffin definitely has a great spot in Mississippi where he could just stay forever.
Yeah.
But I don't really have any insight with that. The only surprise to me is that I have not heard Urban Meyer's name pop up again. That's the only thing I'm surprised.
That I will. Yesterday I was with Joe Lisi, who again, is somewhat tied to the LSU program, and I said, Joe, who do you want it to be? And he just goes, I'll tell you this, better not be Nick Saban. Old man's lost it. And I thought that was the most unique insight of all time. Craig, I really, really appreciate it. I'll let you get going.
Sure.
I know you got a busy night
Gotta
ahead.
go
Who
for a
knows?
walk.
We might have another 18 innings in us tonight, Craig.
No, I got to sleep tonight.
Yeah, let's hope. Again, make sure you do catch Craig Monday through Friday on Newswire and FST, which is on every single minute of every single day, according to Craig. We'll be right back.
Watch a Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a
this,
ref,
hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with them.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live with you on a Tuesday night. And on a Tuesday, we make sure that you are ready for next Sunday with the help of Brady Cannon. Brady, always good to check in with you. You're on the West Coast. The answer to this better be yes. Were you up for the entirety of Dodgers Blue Jays?
I was.
Good.
I will tell you, I was not in front of the TV the entire time, but I was checking it out on my phone for probably about the last 4 or 5 innings. I want to say that I did crawl into bed around the 12th inning or so.
Okay, listen, that's fair enough. But at the end of the day, an outrageous game, and now I'm trying to figure out if Ohtani's going to walk in his first at-bat. Who knows? There's some interesting options out there, Brady, but I don't want to muddy the water too much.
You know what
Go
was
ahead.
so cool about last night? All the situations, the base running, the pitching, the defensive plays. It's like we saw 5 different baseball games in one. There was so much stuff going on, good and bad, but most of it really good. I thought it was tremendous. I just wish the Blue Jays could have won. And, it's okay. I didn't have a problem with Freddie Freeman. I'm a fan of his. I backed him for an MVP. Not a bad deal that he happened to hit the game winner. But I definitely want us to go back to Toronto. I got to get the Blue Jays home with one here in Los Angeles so we can get at least 6 games out of this thing.
Yeah, I think there's a chance we will, though admittedly, I kind of think they need to crack through tonight. It feels like it could just be an avalanche if they drop this one. Such is the nature, though, of baseball and, how these series can go. I want to, the World Series is about as big as it can get. But, Brady, every single regular season, we pretty much know we're going to get to watch the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. And you have a really interesting kind of roller coaster to this season where Buffalo gets that opening night win against Baltimore. They become the Super Bowl favorites everywhere you look. Kansas City has sat there 0-2, what could be. And now we enter into this weekend, and Kansas City is the Super Bowl favorites everywhere you look, and our favorites in Buffalo. Hand up, Brady. Stunned by the number. I'm curious what you made, what is obviously the biggest game this upcoming weekend.
I made Kansas City a 1-point favorite, and I see for the most part they're 1.5-point favorites, but there are spots that have gone to 2. And there's not a huge difference at all between 1.5 and 2, but it does show you that some of the initial action, I imagine it from sharps, typically the general public and the accumulation of $20 and $50 bets is not happening on Monday and Tuesday, and probably Tuesday in this case, because obviously the whole country got to see the Chiefs on Monday night. So after that performance, maybe they went to the window. But I imagine for the most part that's sharp money and not necessarily public money. And I also get that the sharp money probably wants to buy it at less than a field goal. All that being said, and I make the Chiefs a 1-point favorite. I think right now they are slightly the better team. I don't think we know quite what we're going to get from Buffalo because when they went into their bye week, of course, they had lost 2 straight. And I think the elephant in the room was the glaring questions on defense. And could they stop the run? They were giving up almost 6 yards per carry defensively. Now, they played a great game against the Carolina Panthers, just absolutely shellacked them, looked like the Bills that we're used to. But what happens here? I feel like they win the game because they always win this matchup in the regular season and they lose in the playoffs. Even though I made Kansas City a 1-point favorite, we're still calling this game basically a pick'em. But I hope that we see the Bills that we saw in the first 4 weeks of the season. I hope that we see that Bills team come back because I think they're – I would say the Chiefs, the Lions, the Bills, the Eagles are – close. They have some problems. I think the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Bills are arguably the 3 best teams in the NFL, and the Bills have a little asterisk if they can get that defense cleaned up.
Yeah, I think for me, and we talk about this a lot, right? A 1.5-point favorite one direction versus a 1.5-point favorite the other direction probably won't make the difference, but it's a 3-point move. And Buffalo being Buffalo, I did not think we would see them as an underdog. against a team in Kansas City who opened the year a home underdog in each of their first 2 home games. So I think it was a really interesting setup. There's a lot of interesting games to talk about. We'll do that with Brady Cannon. After the break, we're live with you. It is Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
A Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a ref,
his hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with them.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game Time Decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live with you on a Tuesday night where we are joined by Brady Cannon. We are talking a little bit about the action that is to come next week and where some of these numbers are and where some of these numbers are going. And I guess, Brady, just to stick on this quickly, but Buffalo and Kansas City, you mentioned that we have, I have to double check if this is right, some 2s in the market. We have a 2.5 on Kansas City right now. There's no way this gets to 3, right?
No. I think these are people that are buying, at anything less than a field goal, which makes a ton of sense. Hey, 3 is a key number. Will it get to 3 when the public starts to get involved? And you might see some 3s, but I don't think those are going to last long because those will get gobbled up by the wise guys as well. And you could have a situation here where the wise guys have, jumped in on the Chiefs laying 1 or 1.5, and they're going to take a 3 if they ever see one pop, so that's not out of the question either. But we know how key that number 3 is. And if you've got a team that looks like the Kansas City Chiefs right now, no matter where they are, on the road, at home, and you're able to lay the Chiefs with less than a field goal, it's probably a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I think I think Kansas City is absolutely, playing like one of the best teams in the league. I think we're seeing them a tick overinflated. Yeah. Washington blew every opportunity that they had in the first half to hang with them. They beat a lifeless Raiders team. This is a team in Kansas City who laid basically this exact number at home to Detroit just a couple of days ago. Now laying that number on the road to Buffalo, it's a little bit jarring. Tell me, Brady, what's another number that stood out to you, though, for this upcoming week?
I was pretty close on most of my numbers for this week, and close with the Chiefs as well as a 1-point favorite. By the way, with that 2 or 2.5, the Bills become instantly a great teaser leg, teasing them up to 8 or 8.5, by the way. But I was really off on two lines. I made the Colts 5.5 at Pittsburgh, and it's basically 3 everywhere. Now, some of those 3s are strong 3s and could be headed to 3.5. So maybe I'm not so far off there. And maybe that's telling me the Colts are a play. I think the Colts are not quite getting the love in the market just yet because they haven't really played anybody that great. Now, they did, wallop a Chargers team that's pretty good. But other than that, they beat up on some, very poor teams. The other one was the Broncos and the Texans. Now, I kind of understood the Texans being favored last week against San Francisco, but a 1-point favorite against Denver, I don't know if I get that one. I made Denver a 3-point favorite here on the road. I think maybe the best play in this game is the under because both of these defenses are really good. But we know about that Texans offensive line. It's awful. And if you take a defense as good as Denver's, who's one of, if not the leader in the NFL in sacks per game, against that offensive line, I just see them suffocating a Texans offense that, how many wide receivers are going to be available this week? They barely had any last week. And again, the Niners are a banged up unit, no matter what, defensively, offensively, across the board. But Denver's pretty healthy. We know they're a very good defense. Their offense is decent enough. So I think both the under the total, both of these defenses ought to be able to, really flourish in this game. But I worry about the Texans scoring any points at all with this pass rush and the lack of offense that they have no matter what.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think what you're seeing, or what it seems like to me, Brady, is no matter what anyone does against the Dallas defense, the books don't really care, and I can't really blame them.
True. No, very true. Very true.
And I think that just makes Dallas one of the more interesting teams in the league. I will tell you the one number.
Go ahead.
The one number that surprised me a little bit, not a lot, was actually the Niners going to MetLife to play the Giants. I thought the Niners would be over the field goal there. They just have worlds more pedigree. I understand that they're a very banged up football team, but the Giants are now also fitting that description, losing Scadaboo, right? Like neighbors throughout this season. Burns isn't playing at 100%. I understand there's a home field advantage. I also imagine at some point some of the Niners, like, is Brock Purdy on the roster? Is Pearsall on the roster? I was a little surprised by that one, Brady.
I made it 2. I made the Niners -2. I was a little surprised by the 3. I mean, there's not there is a lot of difference between a 2 and a 3. It's only 1 point, obviously, but we know the strength of those numbers. And I think part of that there, Kevin, is a little bit of uncertainty in the market and you kind of allude to it. Who's going to play for the Niners? Is Pearsall going to be in? Is Purdy going to be in? Brandon Ayuk has always been projected to come back in week 10. Is he going to be ready in week 9? So I think there's a lot of question marks about who's, what kind of team the Niners are going to field here. So that one, I think the number is a little bit in flux until we get later in the week and we really see where we are as far as who's going to play in this game. Yeah, we know about Scadaboo, and I would say Scadaboo is worth a point. Maybe he's worth 1.5 points. You talked about Dallas, and I think that game's interesting too. They play on Monday night against the Arizona Cardinals. I made Dallas 3, and the market is currently 2.5. That's another, I almost bet it today, but I'm going to wait when I really dive in and do my statistical crunch on Wednesday to see if it adds up. But I thought about the Cardinals being the second leg of that teaser I mentioned with the Bills earlier, both getting 2 or 2.5 points. You take them up to 8 or 8.5. I think that's a pretty good bet. But the Cardinals are that situation that I like to bet on coming out of the bye, Kevin. Conversely, we saw it last week with the Buffalo Bills, a team that is struggling going into their bye week, having lost 2 straight in the case of Buffalo. And on the other side, they take a pause to get things right. And what did they do? 40-9. They lay waste to the Carolina Panthers. Here's the other side of the coin that I like to bet on. Is the team that is struggling going into their bye with 4 straight losses, the Arizona Cardinals, and now they get to pause and reset and hopefully get things right against a bad defense, like you mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to try and find a way to probably be on the Cardinals in some form or fashion.
There's one other thing, Brady, I want to ask you about before we let you get out of here, and we appreciate it as always. The 2 worst teams against the number right now are the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints. For New Orleans, though, they've actually been getting a lot of respect in the market. And this weekend, going to the Rams, who are off a bye, Shuck starting, you finally see that monster number. And the Saints have covered a monster number. Tennessee, I mean, usually you get the fired coach bump. They are lifeless out there, Brady. I thought all week I would take the 14.5. I didn't touch it. I was happy not to. I mean, they lost by 24, and it was totally unsurprising. In this game here that they're going to play against the Chargers, I knew it would be above a touchdown. I was still off by a field goal, and I don't care. I am not betting these Titans. I refuse.
Yeah, no, I think they're absolutely lifeless, like you said. And isn't Jeffrey Simmons banged up too? I mean, he's the one guy that they have that, can make a difference. And Mike McCoy, former Chargers coach, is that going to matter? Probably not. I made it 9. It opened 10. Not a whole lot of difference between 9 and 10.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. No, I don't. There's going to be at some point in this season when you would think the Titans are the side you want to take. And there's already been a couple of times that you mentioned the new coach bump. There have been some weeks where people have taken the Titans. Week 1, I think people took the Titans, and that worked out. It really hasn't ever since. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to take them again.
Yeah, they covered week 1 by the hook, and then their improbable comeback against Arizona where they were getting massacred. Those are their covers. And look, I'll take bet. Like I said, I bet the Commanders and the Raiders 2 weeks in a row against KC. I'll bet a bad team. This Titan stuff is incredible.
Yep.
Brady, we appreciate it. Little JMU next.
A Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a ref,
hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It is a busy Tuesday night. The World Series is on. We know that. But you've got all the time in the world. That game is going to be on for the next 7 hours. There's some NBA, but there's some important college football as well on a Tuesday with JMU on the road in the Sun Belt against Texas State. To help us break this game down, it's Jack Fitzpatrick. You can find him over on Twitter at FitzAllTheWay, host of Fitz the Bill. Incredible name over there for ESPN Richmond, and does great work with JMU Sports News. Jack, we appreciate you joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk some Dukes.
So tonight they are set up here to play Texas State, and we can dive into the specifics of that game for a minute. But to kind of catch up anybody, Jack, who may not be aware, JMU maybe has the best case of any non-American team, American Conference, to be the G5 bid in the college football playoff. Through these first 7 games of action, how do you feel about James Madison relative to those expectations?
I feel like they're about right in line. I mean, the American likely will beat itself up, kind of eat itself, spit itself out, and that'll leave JMU out of the Sun Belt. That Louisville game you see on the schedule, man, if they could just have that one back, it would feel a lot better. But they're starting to rack up some style points. They're starting to look like the team that I think we all expected coming into the season. There was that weird Georgia State outcome that kind of hurt them a little bit. A win's a win, but you need the style points. The ODU game last weekend, though, I think put them squarely back into the conversation.
So the Louisville game, and the way you describe it is appropriate. A 14-point loss, like for those who watched it know they were in it. But I think Louisville ranked, right? It's in their building. A 14-point loss isn't damning. But for JMU, when you look at the run out here, Jack, how many spots are you worried about rest of season?
Okay, as someone who talks JMU, loves JMU, I got a little bit of a homerism hat on it. I'm a JMU alum, I'll say that. With that being said, I'm worried about 2 spots for the rest of the calendar. It's tonight against Texas State in San Marcos, whatever they pronounce it as. And it's against Marshall as well, because Marshall apparently is a wagon now. I guess
I thought they were supposed to be awful.
I thought so too. And meanwhile, they downed
breaking
ODU
news
by
to me.
24 points. Marshall might actually be good. But so those 2 games give me a little bit of pause. The App State game, of course, because JMU hasn't beaten App since 2022. But like really making me worried, it's tonight and it's against Marshall. So these next 2 weeks are big tests.
That's I admittedly was not up to date that Marshall had not been atrocious, because I was pretty sure they were supposed to be. They lost to Georgia and Missouri State to start the year, but they've found level. Where are you at then with this game tonight? It's on the road. What are the aspects of this one, Jack, that kind of have you on high alert here? They're around a touchdown favorite despite being on the road.
Yeah, so plane trips have been oddly weird for JMU, and I might be getting way too granular into it all, but against Georgia State, that's a flight down to Atlanta. They didn't fare all that well. They were a little slow. It was a sleepy atmosphere. And plane trips during the Bob Chesney era have always kind of been a bit of an issue. You look back to them stubbing their toe against ULM a season ago. They got blown out in Statesboro, Georgia against Georgia Southern last year. So that part of it is a little odd. It's a Tuesday night game. It's their bye week, which is now kind of 2 bye weeks. It's a weird schedule. I mean, it's just weird. And then on the field, JMU matches up really well. JMU, they have the better offense. They have the better defense. Heck, they have the best defense in all of Group of 5. And what's every coaching cliche? Defense travels. Defense wins championships. Late in the season, you can rely on a good defense. All of that. That makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. But the fact that it's a weird game in a weird place, a place they've never traveled to as an FBS team, it gives me slight pause and slight worry that throw out everything you may know, throw out the stats, throw out the data. This game might just be weird on a Tuesday night in the Sun Belt.
That, though, really does describe college football. Like, I don't think you have to even be that in the weeds. Be like, yeah, Tuesday night road game, don't love it. And I think that is sometimes all it takes. I am curious for JMU, though, Jack, if they finish 11-1, win the Sun Belt then, right? So 12-1 that championship game. Is that enough? Or do you think there are some still big things they need to be rooting for elsewhere in the country?
I think there still needs to be some more chaos in the American Athletic Conference. If North Texas wins out, North Texas might get that spot. Heck, you may even want South Florida to lose one more time because South Florida as the American Athletic Conference champion, that may look better on paper than JMU, who, no offense to the Sun Belt, doesn't have a lot of good wins. I mean, their best win right now is an ODU team who has slipped in the last 3 weeks. They're coming off of that 3-point win against App State, but that's your best win. The Louisville game, going back to that, if you could have punched it in, they had the ball on the goal line, couldn't punch it in, couldn't make it a 7-point game there at the end, which looks a lot different than just a lot different than a 2-touchdown loss. You look at the schedule and it just isn't a lot of big flashy names that you beat. So in my opinion, you're going to need the American to have a little bit more chaos. And if you win out, then you can start talking college football playoff. But Jamie never won out at this point in the season as an FBS team. They always slip up late. They did with Kurt Signetti in 2023. They did last year with Bob Chesney in year 1. So they're going to have to do something they've never done as an FBS team.
That, though, is, I mean, listen, let's hope they break the trend, but it's good insight that if they didn't do it, with Sig, it's a tall ask, no doubt about it. Jack, we really, really appreciate it. Remind the people where they can catch your work.
Yeah, you can find it at FitsAllTheWay on Twitter, on Instagram, The Bill, ESPN, or at JMU Sports News on every single social media platform for all of our JMU content.
Jack Fitzpatrick helping us get ready for JMU Texas State on the night of the World Series. Wouldn't have it any other way. We'll be right back with more Game Time decisions.
Watch a Mavericks game, every single play he's arguing with the referees. I mean, if I was
like
a ref,
hands are up. It's like, dude, everyone else is halfway up the floor right now, and you're still back here arguing.
Yeah. I mean, I would tee him up. There is no doubt in my mind, Gabe, the NBA's got to go to these refs and say, listen, you know what? Swallow the whistle with him.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I am willing to bet on Wemby is a triple-double ladder season-long market. I did this actually with Caitlin Clark, who had a triple-double in Game 1 and then spent the rest of the season injured. I hope that does not happen with Victor Wembanyama. 3 triple-doubles at plus 165 should be absolutely no problem for Wemby. Had 2 his rookie season, 1 last year prior to the injury.
Game Time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It is exactly why, like you said, Donnie, this time of year is the absolute best in sports. And first off, the NBA returned to NBC. And hearing that theme music, seeing Mike Tirico back on the call, seeing Michael Jordan on the screen, it just felt right? Like an old friend that you haven't seen in decades that walks back into your life.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
People who filed it are actually representatives of Chicago, so they're from the city. They're kind of saying, this is really going to cripple the industry if we do this even more. I think it's really important when we talk about this stuff because so many places want to keep taxing sports betting more and more and more, which is well within their right. But there gets to a point where the bubble bursts and sports books either don't want to do business or they change the way they do it by passing it down to the customer.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you on a Tuesday night on Sports Grid. Kevin Walsh here. It is, of course, Game Time Decisions. Up next, we'll be in-game live where Scott Wetzel and Gabriel Morency will have you covered for Game 4 of the World Series. I do not know who the crew is for Game number 5, but I'm almost positive it will not include Gabe, who is out there for Game 5, Dodgers, Blue Jays. What will tonight bring? Folks, it's tough to tell. It's made a little bit more complicated by, what is it? Do as I say, not as I do. Last night, we're talking, it feels like it's a good spot for some Vladdy numbers, good spot for some Ohtani numbers. Each guy, whether it be hit or an RBI, multiple runs, they step up again and deliver that to you. I am fascinated to see what this first at-bat for Shohei Ohtani looks like. I think one of the underrated pieces of the walk him every time stuff, you are far more likely to do that in a tie or a one-run baseball game where if the Dodgers are up 7-2, they're going to pitch to him. If the Blue Jays are up 7-2, they're going to pitch to him. So I think there is some live value following the tenor of the game and then appropriately attacking these Shohei at-bats. But for me, the Ohtani market we've talked about with that first at-bat being a walk. So let's say the Blue Jays don't strike first. I think they might actually. I'm probably going to play yes runs first inning in this baseball game. I think it's on the board that we see some scoring early. I wouldn't be stunned if both actually put multiple runs up in the first inning. I really wouldn't. With that said, if you are Toronto, you cannot intentionally walk the first batter of the game. If he hits a home run, if he hits a double, there's a lot of game left. But more importantly, they did something last night as far as the Blue Jays go that I quite appreciated. Because it didn't work against Ohtani, but it did against Mookie Betts. Shohei came up after intentionally walking him a handful of times. They opted not to. Went out of the strike zone, though, 4 straight pitches. Ohtani almost went on the first. He laid off. He takes his base. Mookie, up 2-0, swung at a pitch in the dirt. Proceeded to get out Mookie Betts then in that spot in the lineup. Why you wouldn't tell Bieber out of the zone 4 straight as opposed to just automatically give it to him is way beyond me. And I know every pitch could matter because you just use all of your guys last night. You could tell Shane to take a lot off the pitch. You can sacrifice 4 for a world that Ohtani juiced up goes out of the strike zone for a couple. It's something to absolutely watch in this game. Here's where your best bets are, though, across the card tonight from the crew. Chris already in action with Tyrese Maxey for 40-plus PRA. I think he's off to a pretty decent start in that basketball game with a first quarter seeing Tyrese Maxey have 12, 3, and 3. I know he at least had the 12 points, but it's Joel Embiid right now leading all scorers in that game with 18 as Embiid pushes towards his second 20-point performance of the season. The remainders of the best bets, it's going to be AJ with the Clippers money line, minus 130, as they're on the road against Golden State, but the Warriors are on a back-to-back. Wayne Knight over the 64.5 rushing for that JMU game that we talked about. They will be taking that trip to Texas State, very important distinction. Texas Tech, an absolute wagon, but they are going to go and play Texas State tonight. And then I'm going to play Karl Anthony Towns over the 21.5. I think it's a really good spot to back Cat. He's a career 57% shooter from 2. On the year, he's at 41.7%. It's a 3-game sample size, but it shows how much room there is to bounce back for Karl Anthony Towns, who still has it going from 3. Game 1, under. Game 2, over. Game 3, under. Game 4, we're looking to bounce back with Karl Anthony Towns. I am also on Sacramento tonight, catching 9.5 against OKC, who will be down Chet Holmgren on top of a number of other players. In-game live, next on SportsGrid.